What's up, YouTube? We're back with another video. This time we're gonna finish out this tongue and groove ceiling up here. The roof, it was just kind of too low for the ceiling. So we ripped that out. We put some new higher boards in, and then we recladded everything with the tongue and groove. If you look over here, you can see that we have tongue and groove in this area, and there's only just a little bit left to finish right above us. But before I can finish that, I have to secure the light box for the electrical to make sure that our chandeliers do not fall down, because I tell you what, when we have guests over, we definitely don't want that falling down on their heads. So we're gonna take care of that today. It should be fun. I'm bringing you along with me. Come on, let's do it. All right, so you see that box up there? Right now it's secured to that beam. We're gonna drop it down some by adding an extra board to that beam. That'll allow it to drop just below our tongue and groove here so that we can cover and finish that up, and we can install our light box and our chandelier securely. Personally, I've always enjoyed the look of the tongue and groove ceiling. It gives such a classic appeal to a traditional style home. While this isn't the final color, it should give you some idea of what the final product will look like. We'll stain it later and it's gonna look beautiful. See, we've already finished this part. As far as installing it, I think it's gonna look nice. Let us know in the comments what you think. We use standard tongue and groove boards made of pine. We'll sand them smooth and then we'll stain them for a quality finish. The way it works is you have two boards that lock together. It's two-sided. You can go with the narrow side or you can go with the wider side. We chose the wider side and I think it turned out great. What do you think? In my opinion, tongue and groove goes well with any style, whether you're doing something modern or you're doing something a little more traditional. I just love the look of tongue and groove, and you can spice it up or spice it down with all sorts of different stains or paint varieties. I'm not one of those people that's gonna tell you not to paint wood. I know there's some of you out there, and if that's your thing, by all means, go ahead. In this house, however, we do plan to stain and not paint our tongue and groove ceilings. Oh, I mean, for pine boards, you really can't beat the price to impact. I mean, these boards are fairly cheap and they give off a really good look in the end. So you wind up with something that looks premium that really didn't cost a lot of money. These short boards were a breeze, but when it comes to our longer boards, you're gonna need a little bit more patience and finesse to get these right where you want them. But with the right amount of patience, it's all worth it in the end. Tongue and groove boards come in sizes from 8 feet long to 16 feet long. For this project, we purchased 12-foot boards to handle all of our needs. I only needed a few tools to get things done. First, you'll need a skill saw to cut the pine boards. Then you'll need a hammer for leverage, and you'll need a pneumatic nail gun to secure the boards to the ceiling. A speed square is great to have, but not required for this project. And we'll use our circular saw to cut the right length. With that short list of tools, we were ready to begin. Something that has been constantly bothering me is this gable. So if you look, you can see our ceiling, and then you can see that it's kind of thick, that ridge, because they put a double ceiling in. And I've known this for a while. From the time they started framing up until now, this is something that I've noticed. It's kind of been in the back of my mind, like, how's that gonna work out? How am I gonna be able to trim that out? I really wanted to go for something with a little bit thinner profile than kind of that thick. So they framed that bottom ceiling with a 2x6 rafters, and then the actual roof above right there where I'm tracing, they framed that with 2x6 as well. So then there's about another 2-inch to 3-inch gap in between that. And so, I mean, on the fascia, you've got like, what's that, 12 plus 2, like 14-inch thick. And it's really beefy compared to the rest of the roof line of the house. So what I want to do is, even though we put this up, I'm going to tear it all out, reduce this down to one roof. The bottom roof is not structural, it's just cosmetic. So I'm going to see if I could tie into the top roof, and I think that will give a better look and a better outcome overall on kind of the profile of the house in the front. So a lot of work to tear out today. I'll bring you along on the journey. So just sit back and watch the show. All right, Now that I have tongue and groove down, I could get a better look at the rafters, and I think we're going to be able to make it work. So basically, here's the ridge line right along here, and if I get higher, you can see that above that is the original roof line. I'm gonna have to get even higher. 1 second. So up there, that's the roof line. Then down here, that's the ceiling. And that's this joist here that runs all the way out. Well, up above that is the other. And I wanna match that, but it's gonna take some extra cuts. So it looks like it's not gonna be impossible to bring this roof line up to match the outline of the roof from the outside, but it will be a little bit of extra work. So I'm a little disappointed that my framers didn't go the extra mile to kind of make sure that was all in line. But at the same time, I didn't speak up. This was something that I noticed that looked off to me from the very beginning. From, I guess that was January until now, we're in late July. It's been bothering me. Finally got it cladded, and I really didn't like how it looks. So we're gonna do the extra work to push this up. There'll be a few extra cuts that need to be done, but I think in the end it'll look really good, so it's well worth it. Plus, I won't come to the house every day and see that and go, man, I wish I had done something about that. So no regrets, y'all. Let's get to it. I've got my new 2x6, brought it up here in the attic. That's the one that's sitting on top here, and you can see this is the problem where it runs into this hip ridge. We can cut around that, not cut the ridge itself, but cut around it in order to help raise this roof higher. After positioning this board at the right height, I'm going to use the existing ridge board that's already here as somewhat of a guide on how straight I should be. And then if we come down here to the end, you can see between here and here is a gap, and then use that as a reference to raise this board up and have that same gap height, because right there is actually the height that we want this ridge. So you see there, we're about 2 3/4 of an inch higher on the top ridge from this bottom ridge down here. So I'm gonna find a piece that's 2 3/4, and we're gonna tuck it underneath that top ridge so that we have the same height going all the way across. All right, so I just got my 2 pieces cut, 2 3/4. So I'm gonna go shim these into place so we can raise that ridge. Then we'll take a look and see how we can secure that new ridge board in place. All right, so now that I have my risers in, you see there's those 2 pieces that I cut to help raise this board so it would come in contact with this ridge here, which is where I want it, and it would be on the same plane as the other ridge board. So that's going to continue right to here. So my next thing that I need to do is I gotta record the angle on here so that I can butt this ridge board into this ridge board that's slanting here, and so it can be flush. So I'm going to determine the angle on that, and then I'll cut it and we'll nail it. I took a wild guess at this was a 45-degree angle. Turns out I was correct. So I've got it flush against this valley board here that's running down, and I threw my level on top to make sure it was level, and you can see there's my level showing that it's level. The only problem now is it's raining, if you can hear it. We're gonna keep moving because it's supposed to storm all day, so can't let that slow me down. I gotta get my air tools. I'll get them up here. This new ridge beam, we'll get it nailed in place. We'll get it supported down here so that it'll be solid, and then we can set our rafters up against the new ridge. All right, so I made a bonehead move with trying to go too fast. So I've got this board nailed and secured in place. The only problem is these electrical wires here are underneath the board. They should be on top of the board. So I've got to take this down and give it another try. So here we go again. All right, so I got this reset, and this time I have the wires going up and over my new ridge there. I've got that one in place. In order to continue this ridge on the other side of this valley, I had to cut a small piece to connect from here to there. And so I've got it resting on those same spacers so that I can have a continued even plane all across here. So when I go to reconnect my rafters here, that they connect evenly all the way across. So now I'm gonna get the nail gun. I'm gonna nail this in place. I'll tack nails here and I'll tack nails here to hold that board in place. All right, so now I have that nailed in place. Got a nail there, and then if you come over here, I've got a toe nailed here into this board. And so what we have now is a continuation from there to there. So now it's just a matter of taking these rafters that are running here, cutting them free and shifting them up to our new ridge line. All right, so I've been working, and I figured it's probably a good idea to update you guys. This side, it has not been lifted yet. And this side here, those rafters have been lifted. Originally, those rafters were kind of in this spot here, and here, as well as here. I have some of the other rafters left over here, but I pushed those up, and I believe that's gonna be just enough to clear the plane for this valley rafter here that's kind of sloping down. That's really the part that's been in the way, and good news is it's only for this side. So once I get this clear on this side, then I can pull this cladding down, and I'll move those rafters up on that side as well. You can see the top ridge beams there kind of going all the way across. Got those installed, and that's what the adjusted rafters are attached to now. And I'll give you a view from the street so you can see the difference. So here's the difference that it's gonna make. You see over here, the boards will start just right there on that rafter there, whereas you see how it currently is, there's another set of rafters underneath, which is making that area kind of bulky. So once I clad this, you'll really get a chance to see how much better it will look, because it'll be kind of more low profile instead of this big chunky area in here for fascia. That area is actually, let me see, that's two 2x6s. So that's 5.5 and 5.5 inches. That gets you to 11 inches. And then the gap in between the two is another 2 3/4. 11 plus 2 3/4 is 13 3/4. So almost 14 inches is how thick that is over here on this side. But over here, this is gonna be more like 8 inches thick. So nearly half the width cut in size. I think it's gonna be more proportionate to the rest of the fascia on the rest of the home, and it's gonna look a lot more streamlined and nice. All right, I've made some progress at this point. I've got all of the rafters shifted up on this side. You can see they're higher up on the higher beam there. I've kind of shored up some of the shorter rafters or the thinner rafters to make them thick enough so that they're all in the same plane, so that when I hang the tongue and groove here, that the tongue and groove will actually be flat when I hang it. So I also made sure that for these rafters that they would fall just below this valley ridge right here, which is really what's disturbing everything. If you look up here, I had to sister another 2x4 to the 2x4 that was already in place to give enough thickness to support this tongue and groove. And then here I had to rip down a 2x4 to give enough thickness to support that tongue and groove. So all the way along here is touching. Now each one is touching a rafter. We're skipping that, which is what we want, and then again and again hitting the rafters. From the street, you can really see a noticeable difference. I know it may seem like a lot of work for nothing, but take a look at that. So on the left, my left, is the raised up rafters, and on the right, you can see the rafters that haven't been touched yet. And if you notice, there's a huge difference between the thickness of over here versus over here. So fruits of the labor is gonna pay off, gonna make a better appearance on the home. The porch will fit in more with the rest of the house. So we're gonna keep trucking away and making progress. All right, so at this point, I've broken the brace free here. So this bottom board here is resting on that and one nail. And I'm gonna need to roll and pull in order to get this and keep it from crashing down to the ground. So here we go. And there it is, folks. I got the board down. It's now right here. It was heavy. With a little bit of leverage, we were able to make it a little easier on the back. Now that that's out, we can start attaching our rafters on this side here. And once we're done with that, we'll clad. We're getting close, y'all. I'm just about done putting the tongue and groove back up. We have pushed up that ceiling now, so it's not as chunky, but it looks a little bit more normal. This is the way that I would have preferred it in the beginning. This project took a while. I knew it was gonna take a while to kind of fix that, but it's well worth it in the end. Well worth having that roof set to that specific width. I think it looks really good from the street. This has been a long 2-day project, but you can see the difference that it makes. I'll put up a picture of kind of a before and after so you can see. Christina has been sustaining me, throughout this period. So bringing me food and water, making sure I haven't fell off the ladder, or passed out. She's been a great help. I really appreciate that. What do you think?
It was
What do you think?
It's definitely a big difference. The way it was before, it didn't really bother me as much as it bothered him. And so I was kind of not necessarily indifferent, but I was like, if you want to, fine. But now that I see it, like, it's definitely an improvement. It gives us more of that kind of grand entrance kind of vibe that we wanted. So
yeah,
it was definitely a good call.
And we pushed it up about 6.5, 7 inches.
Yeah,
a big difference. And so it just makes it look taller and more grander as well, in addition to just not looking awkward.
Yeah.
What was up there at first was awkward,
yeah,
y'all.
It was a little chunky.
So spoke to a framer just to figure out if it was possible and how much they would charge. Framer said it would take 2 guys 2 days to do that, and he paid each guy $300 a day. So you do the math on that. 1 guy, 2 days, we knocked it out. I'm not even a framer. I'm sorry for the shaky footage, y'all, but my arms are on fire. I got one last piece to do, and that's remount the electrical piece back to the beam up there so that we have our porch light, and that's it. There was the porch light that hung from that other ridge that we removed. So the wire is right over here on the other side of this tongue and groove. I just need to remount it along our new beam here. So here we are in the attic now, and that's the piece that needs to be remounted to the beam here. So I'm gonna take care of that now. So it's the next day. We've got sunlight. I wanted to show you the roof line and how much better that looks than what we had before. I have a few more things to fix to really close it in. I'm gonna come in closer so you can get a view of what's going on. So you see that area up there? That's how high we raised the roof, basically. So I need to cut 2 pieces of sheathing. I've already got my measurements for it. I'm gonna cut and seal that in so our insulation and stuff remains sealed in. So those 2 strips, I'm gonna fill those in. I determined that the pitch of the roof is 812 pitch, and the length of that space that we need to cover is, I think it's about 48 inches. You see I measured here from that tip down here to here, 48 inches. I took my speed square here to turn around, right? So you got the pivot point here. You use the pivot along with the common rafter unit measurements here to find the 8. So there's the 8. In order to get an 812 pitch, I'm gonna stay on that pivot. I'm gonna pivot up until that line is on the 8. Once I'm there, that's where this line came in. You saw me trace that. That's gonna give me the pitch that I need for that side. Then I come down here where I made the 48 inches. Then I also need to put the pitch on this end as well. So the same thing again. I get right at that corner. I pull my pivot until I'm lined up on the 8, and then I draw my line. So I'm actually gonna cut from this line here to this line here, and that should fit nicely. I've covered up those gaps. All of this is gonna get covered with Hardy anyway, so it doesn't have to be perfect, but see that black zip tape? I taped the seams here, across there, and should be good. So long weekend project, but I think it turned out beautiful.